Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, and I would like to welcome back to the show the co-host of the show and the owner of PackYourPixieDust.com. Welcome back to the show, Christy. How are you?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
Not too bad. And today we are heading up to the 50th state in the Union, the great state of Alaska, and we're going to talk about a little bit of an overview of sailing with Disney in Alaska, but also an overview of your cruise, which is leaving, I believe, in July. Correct?
Actually, June 30th.
It's coming faster than I thought. All right.
No, I'm so thinking, oh my gosh, I'm really behind.
Okay, and are you ready for it?
Ish.
Okay. That's better than a no, right?
Right, I hope.
Okay, well, let's just jump into it. Now, you guys aren't sailing with Disney. Who are you guys sailing with this time, and who else going?
We are sailing with Princess Cruise Line, and we are going with my in-laws. So my mother-in-law and father-in-law are taking us for their 50th anniversary, and my husband's siblings, there's 4 of them, and then half of them are married, so there's 16 of us total going.
Wow. And so did you...
Grandkids as well.
Okay.
Sorry. Grandkids too.
Did you do the booking for this, or did you guys go through somebody else? And I guess what I'm curious is like, with that many people going, how hard was it did you get all the cabins together, or what did you guys decide on that?
So I am the travel agent. And it was funny because my mother-in-law has a friend, I guess, that is an agent, although she doesn't work completely full-time. And my mother-in-law said, well, I understand you want to book this, but my daughter-in-law is going, and I would say I have to use her. So I was like, oh, that's nice. So I did the booking. We picked it. So we first had to pick the cruise, and that was tricky. She actually looked at Disney because there are there's 3 kids, and then there's 2 like younger adult grandkids. So she wanted to look at Disney, and it was price prohibitive for this many people.
Okay.
So we then were looking between Royal, and actually the Bliss was a thought for a moment, but the problem, because there's so many people, is that I really needed particular seatings. Like I was concerned about the price, but B, I wanted to make sure that we had a set dining time. And so I needed to pick a cruise line that would have that.
Okay. That makes sense.
So like the same dining room. We all show up to the same dining room at the same time. That is, for this many people, it seems to make the most sense. So that's what we did. And then we went between Princess and Royal. We had finally picked the week because it had to be a week that everybody can travel. And there's people coming from Tennessee. Most of us are coming from Michigan. Oh, and one of my brother-in-laws works with this high school exchange something. So he is actually even flying in from Spain. But he does a summer program in Spain for part of the summer. So it's we had all these schedules to coordinate. Royal had a cruise that lined up pretty well, priced out pretty well. It went to Tracy Arm like Disney does. But we decided that we really wanted to go to Glacier Bay National Park because this is going to be most of the group's one and only time going. And so we really wanted to get the very best of the experience that, you can get a little closer, you know more than I do about what it's like, but we really wanted to do Glacier Bay. So that's how we ultimately picked Princess. And
this one leaves out of Seattle. Before we talk about Seattle and the cruise in general, what is the itinerary on it, or where does it go?
We go to Juneau, Skagway. We cruise through Glacier Bay. It's National Park, I think, right?
Yes.
And then Ketchikan in Victoria, British Columbia. So that's our, distant, quote-unquote, port for the cruise. We picked Seattle as well for ease because it's a large group, because people are coming from different places. We weren't entirely sure if everybody was going to have passports. So we went with Seattle to make that process easier as well.
Just to kind of put it into perspective, and we'll kind of bounce back a little bit back and forth, so hopefully it won't be too confusing, but for our Disney Cruise Line fans, so it's on the Wonder. That's the only ship that sails up to Alaska, and all of the sailings are out of Vancouver, as Christy was saying. They run 5-day, 7-day, and 9-day. So there's 1 5-day, 1 9-day, and the majority of them are 7-day trips that go up into Alaska and come back. They're round trip trips, which means they leave and come back to the same port. So some of the cruise lines, if you do some investigation into it, like Royal and Norwegian, they'll run ships that are one way between, and I'm totally drawing a blank on it, but just south of Anchorage, where they will drop you off. So you can continue up in those cases, like up into Denali State Park, like Frank, our listener, just a couple of podcasts ago, he and his wife did. So it just gives you more options for exploring Alaska. But so Disney just goes up and back, and then the cruise you're doing is doing it up and back from Seattle.
Yeah, Holland also has an amazing Alaska program. You know, in the world of travel, they rank these cruise line programs, and Princess and Holland really do win the most awards every year by the people who give awards. It is what it is, but they have a lot of the cruise tours. And that is what I think even you would recommend for anybody. I would recommend it for sure. If you're going to Alaska and you can handle the tour, do the tour, because then you really get into Denali. You get into the parks. You get to go to a lot more places than just so that you can just port cities. So it's a part of the group where you start. They're always one-way tours. So you're going to start in one spot, end in another, and then there's like a train component that takes you into Alaska. Celebrity has them as well. And then, like you said, NCL. There's a lot of great cruise tours out there that really, really get you into the heart of Alaska, which is great.
Yeah, it's a good point. Why I keep dropping Holland America, because living on the West Coast, we get Holland America literature every year for their Alaska tours, and they're actually headquartered out of Seattle. So, yeah, little nugget there. But yeah, most of those one-way tours, they head up from Seattle up through, you hit, depending upon the tour, you'll hit Sitka, Skagway, Juneau, and then up a little bit further north. There's a couple ports up north as well. You definitely do probably a time in Glacier Bay. Then generally it comes in, and why I'm totally drawing a blank on this port, I'll find it here before the end of the show, but it drops you off just south of Anchorage. You get on a train, it'll bring you up or a bus, it'll bring you up to Anchorage for like a day or two to do some things around there. And then there's the Great Alaskan Railroad that a lot of them combine, where you'll go up to Denali, which is Mount McKinley, same name, just Denali is the native name up there for Mount McKinley. And generally those tours will run all the way to Fairbanks, and then you'll fly back from Fairbanks to wherever you're going. Those are just some of the different options you could do. I think with Disney, they do a really good job of giving you a good overall flavor by being able to see the glaciers and stop in a couple different towns. You'll definitely see some wildlife, and then the part that I really love the most is just sailing through the Inside Passage, which is what you're going to be able to do as well. So just to go back to your cruise, and we'll start in Seattle. Let's jump into your plans and what you guys have. You guys are flying into Seattle, and I know that we were kind of texting earlier in the year trying to figure out a place to stay with the large amount of ships that now sail to Alaska to Seattle, and just with the economy. I know that hotel prices have gotten to be pretty spendy if you're staying downtown, which is the easiest place to stay to get to the cruise terminal if you're coming in the night before. What did you guys decide to do, or where'd you end up booking?
So the party is sort of split up. We are going to stay at the Sheraton downtown. I want a place. They have an indoor pool. We're actually arriving several days before. My husband's going to work in Seattle for a couple of days. So we leave on a Wednesday. We'll be there on Thursday and Friday. He's going to work out there, and we left in plenty of time to give my son some time to get acclimated to the time change, because it's really going to be a big deal for him. So will be newly 5 years old, and it's just, we're body clock people. Frankly, it's just as much for me as it is for him. We don't want to be waking up at 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning every day on this cruise and going to bed at like 6. So we're gonna get out there a little bit early to start getting our time adjusted. And then I have no idea what we're gonna do in Seattle. We're gonna hang out. The rest of the family are staying in an Airbnb on like the other side of the highway, if that makes sense. Like when I'm looking at a map, seems to be that there's a highway over there. They're on the other side of that. So still close to downtown, but not in downtown.
Okay. And Seattle's they don't have quite they don't have like really a subway system like some of the other places. It's kind of a city that runs north-south along the water, but with the invention of Uber and Lyft,
Right.
pretty easy way to get around to different places by being in separate spots of the city. And then once you get downtown, it's hilly like San Francisco, but it's a fairly walkable city. So it's easy. It can be easy if you can walk between a lot of the different sites and stuff downtown. So not too hard to get around.
My husband and I have each been there separately throughout our adult lives, so there's some stuff we are familiar with a little bit, which is nice. But yeah, I will at some point look into something to do there.
Okay, and there's
besides swim. So we're gonna swim in our hotel. But.
Okay, and yeah, there's a ton of stuff to do. And just one last thing about leaving out of Seattle, there are 2 different ports. So depending upon where your cruise ship leaves from, one is closer to downtown, and the other one's kind of up and around the Sound. It's not too far away, probably about a 10 to 15 minute Uber from downtown to get to the other one. But just as an FYI, there are actually 2 different ports where the ships leave from. So
I should look into that. I believe we're in the close to downtown port. The right Pier 66 or something it's called. But I'm not 100% sure on that, so I have to look into that.
Yeah, Pier 66 is right downtown, and I think it's Royal. Royal and Norwegian leave from the ones that are a little bit further away. So I haven't been downtown there as much lately since we don't live up there anymore. But there you go.
Oh, Pier 91.
Oh, Pier 91. Yeah, I think that's still the downtown one. Well, there you go. So you guys leave out of Seattle, and then you head north. And before we start talking about maybe the different port adventures you have planned and the different stops that you're going to go to, let's talk a little bit about planning for an Alaskan trip. Have you looked into what you're going to pack, and have you started that process yet, or are you still kind of thinking about it?
Actually, just this week, I have done my online shopping, so I should be having all of my deliveries here with our shoes arriving soon. One of the things I had researched that we need to pack, and I'm sure you will agree with this, is just some sort of water-resistant type shoes. We're not necessarily hiking, but they turn out to be, a hiking sneaker type shoe. And so I was able to find some on sale for my husband and I, and then I just ordered a pair for my son that were on sale as well. Nordstrom has their semi-annual sale, so I always get my kids' shoes from there. And so I have waterproof shoes, and then I have rain jackets for us as well. So I've procured those throughout the year or whatever, basically waterproof jackets. I do have my son's winter coat that'll be coming with us. He is a really thin one that folds into a pocket basically, but he's so little. He needs, if it's going to be 40 degrees, which it could be, he's going to need that winter coat. So, and he can fit that under his rain jacket. So that'll work out for him.
So that sounds perfect. Actually, we're going to do a little trivia here for you. Do you know where Nordstrom started and what they started out as?
Well, I'm going to go with Portland because that's where you live.
It actually started in Seattle. The Nordstrom family started in Seattle. They used to own the Seahawks when the Seahawks first came out, but they actually started out as a shoe store. And
they're great with shoes. I don't know if people know this, but you can return their stuff forever. So if you have children, anytime they do their kids in Father's sale or their semi-annual sale, I buy all of Blake's shoes there when I can get them cheap enough, and you can return them forever.
Yeah.
As long as you still have the receipt and the little tag thing that comes with them. So I throw them in his closet. I put the receipt in there. I buy into the future because then I don't have to go last minute and try to find him shoes when we need them. So people need to do that.
Yeah, there's stories from when I was living up there of people, bringing back tires, and this is no kidding, because they'll take anything. That's just part of their customer service.
Right.
Even though Nordstrom doesn't sell tires, but they'll take them back with a smile on their face, and yeah. Anyways, I don't think people
is like that too.
Yeah,
I think Kohl's is a pretty good return policy, but that's beside the point. Okay, so then I have some sort of easy dry pants for both Dave and I. I have a pair of really small, thin long johns that I got at the end of the season for Blake that he can just wear under his clothes if it's a little bit cooler that day. I'll bring his gloves and hat. I'll bring my hat because I'm a wimp. And then blue jeans, I guess. And I suppose I need clothes for dinner because Princess is a little bit dressier. They're not quite as casual, which is a little sad. Disney, you can dress up, but you can also be casual. I think Princess is a little more particular about that.
Okay. Well, you kind of hit on all the perfect things. Weather up there can be very unpredictable. Just give you some generalities, but obviously this is nothing set in stone. Most of the cruises run from I was looking at Disney's, and I think they start here. They started in May and they run till the end of September, basically. And it tends to be a little bit drier and cooler at the beginning of the season, but as the summer goes on, it'll warm up a little bit more, but it'll actually get wetter. So, like I said, you're kind of rolling the dice whenever you go as far as the weather goes. I think our cruise director on the Wonder said it best, rain or shine, we're going to have a good time. So you just got to keep that mentality. You could have a whole week of sun, or you could have a whole week of rain like we did when we did ours. So it can really be hit or miss. But so you want to pack basically like you were packing in layers. So does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what we're planning.
Yes. So you want to bring, some kind of maybe rain type jacket, and then maybe some fleece as the jacket. And so you can take, if it's not raining, you can take the rain jacket off and just have the fleece on. Or if it starts to warm up during the day, you can take the fleece off and you're good to go too. So you kind of want to have that. Yeah, that's perfect with the waterproof hiking shoes. It rained 4 of the days, so we didn't do any hiking either, but just being out and about and it raining, if you just had regular tennis shoes on or something like that, it would have been kind of miserable by the end of the day. But the flip side of it is there have been people that have been up there on cruises that it gets 80 degrees up there and it gets hot and the sun is intense. It's out, it's going to be light most of the day. So
I know, isn't that crazy? I don't even know. I'm geeking out about the fact that it's just going to be light.
Yeah.
So we'll be 1 week after or 10 days or whatever after the solstice. So it won't be completely light, but it's not going to be that off. So
yeah, it'll be dusk about 11 o'clock at night. So
oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to stay up one night to see.
So that being said, besides the warm stuff, in all honesty, you might want to have some shorts or maybe like kind of a dry fit shirt. So that,
for sure.
Yeah, when it gets hot, you can, if it ends up being hot, you kind of need that. I would bring sunglasses for sure, because the sun can be pretty intense. And also, believe it or not, if you're going to be outside a lot with your excursions, bring some suntan lotion, because it's kind of like being up in the mountains and skiing in the winter, where you can get burned pretty easily, especially kids. So you kind of want to think about that as well.
I mean, he wears sunblock even in the winter here all year long.
Okay.
So we're big sunblock people.
Okay. So, and then binoculars for the sights, and what else I see? You had gloves and hats too, just in case. So
yeah, we just went and got our binoculars we were hoping to see some wildlife, which I do think I saw either a seal or a dolphin on our Panama cruise one day. So we had bought the binoculars for that, but we really bought it for Alaska, but we said, let's make sure we have it prior to. And Cabela's, I don't know if they're around the country, but it's like a big hiking or hunting store here in Fishing in Michigan. I know they have a couple locations, at least in the state, but so we went, so anybody else can do this. You go to a big hunting store. We were so outside of our element, but they had a lot of less expensive, but still nice binoculars. You can try them out and things like that, which was good.
That's perfect. Yeah, they have Cabela's out here too, so I think they just came out here a couple years ago. So yeah, there's a little bit about the weather, a little bit about packing for your cruise. Well, let's jump onto the ship itself. I've never been on Princess, and maybe you could point out maybe some of the differences you think between Princess and Disney, just out of curiosity, as far as like you were talking about, they have set dining times on Princess like both. Disney? Okay.
Yeah, Princess has an anytime dining like Norwegian does, where you kind of go whenever you want. And then they also have set dining. So you could pick which one you want. So for us, I picked set dining, so it'd be easier. They have shows in the evening. They're going to be more general population shows that rather than like children, I would say, shows. They'll be all ages, but they're not, it's not a Disney production. The ship, the one cool thing that they do and Princess is known for is they have the movies under the stars. So they do like hot cocoa and warm cookies and popcorn and blankets, and they bring it all onto the pool deck and they put a movie up there in the evenings. And I think they do this a couple of the days of the cruise. And this is in any location that they have a ship. So they do movie under the stars, which I think is kind of cool. So they have, like I said, the warm blankets, and you lay in the little chaise lounge chairs and watch a movie. And then I think they have kids clubs, more divided by age. And actually, some of the cool things that Princess does, they are teamed up with Discovery Channel and Animal Planet. And so they have programming and activities like run by those channels. So they have for the kids, they have little Alaska, like, I can't think of the words, but they can be like rangers at the park type thing. They can go through a little programming for that throughout the week. So I'm curious to see what that's like. They also allow parents to be in the kids club with the kids more often. So there's more group activity, which, for someone like my kid who kind of wants to be with us, that works out well. They bring on board, and I don't know, does Disney do this? Do you know? Because, I don't know that you know either. But they bring on board the puppies, the
sled dog puppies.
Yes. So those will be on board one day. And then they bring on, just like Disney does, they bring on other speakers that will talk about the ports and talk about the glaciers and, all that stuff, the naturalist. Yeah.
So some of the things that Disney does, unless they're doing that now, they didn't bring puppies on board, but they do have the naturalist on board, and he or she speaks on the sea days, and they kind of give you a whole overview of Alaska. I think we talked about this before, but it may sound boring, but he talked about like the life of salmon, and believe it or not, like the speakers that they get are amazing. They usually put videos or pictures with it, and it is not dry at all. So they do a really good job of giving you kind of like a natural history from the geography to the animals and whatnot. So they have the speakers on board, and then they do a couple different things, like the day you go up Tracy Arm, but they don't have any puppies on board. Unfortunately, that would be awesome.
No. Well, and I was reading about that, and I was doing this class. I have to do this. I do the travel agents have a class you can take, so I'm working on it. And yeah, when I read about the puppies, I was like, that's so cool. And according to Princess, they are on every ship. So every sailing, there are puppies.
Well, my wife and my mom and my youngest went and saw sled dog puppies in Pan for Gold in Skagway, and they loved it. They loved the trainer or the owner that raises the puppies kind of gave a whole spiel on sled dogs and how they raise the puppies and everything like that. And they were just fascinated by it. So if you're an animal lover at all, that appeals to you. That's kind of a must see because it was really well done, I guess. But if you go in Princess, they bring them to you. You don't have to go anywhere.
Right. And you can they obviously still have the excursions where you can see the puppies, but I thought that was really cool.
No, that is cool.
Both ships, just real back to what they both have mini golf. Well, no. So Disney doesn't have mini golf on the Wonder. So Princess does have mini golf, and then they have basketball as well, and stuff like that.
Before we go into the cabin, I guess the last couple differences, the day they go up to Tracy Arm, they bring the kids club upstairs. So they call it camp something, I believe. So where the basketball courts are up in the front, they do all kinds of stuff up there for the kids, so the kids can be out in the fresh air if it's not raining, and get a chance to kind of, as they're messing around doing things, to kind of take in a little bit of the nature too. So, and then and then at lunchtime they do a barbecue on the back of the ship out behind cabanas, and they barbecue up some salmon and some reindeer sausage, and they kind of do all that. So it's kind of a cool day as you go up. It's a 30-mile fjord up to see the glaciers up in Tracy Arm. So those are some of the different things. And then character-wise, they have Mickey and Minnie in them in their Alaska outfits. So that's kind of cool if you want to see that.
They are adorable.
Yeah. So those are kind of the things that Disney, I guess, differs between Princess. Or those are some of the things that the two offer. So talking about the cabin, what did you guys book? Did you guys book a balcony, or what did you guys do this time?
We did go with the mini suite, and Princess has two different categories of a mini suite. They have a mini suite just for my little family of 3 here. They have the balcony, which is standard size, and then they have a mini suite, and then they have a mini suite with suite amenities. And we just got the mini suite category and not the amenities that go with it. So, and we did that just, because we're used to a little bit more space, to try to even get the cabin closer to like the Disney family veranda size, just so it's not so tiny in there for us. The rest of the family, they're all booked in balcony cabins. There's like one set with 2 of the young adults that they're in an inside across the hall from their parents that are in a balcony. So.
And that's what we did too. My parents had a balcony. We had it inside, so we just used my parents' balcony a couple of times to hang out on. So rather than us both having a balcony, it's kind of maybe if you're going with a group, might be a way to save a little bit of money, because these, especially with Disney, these cruises tend to be a little bit expensive.
Sure. Well, and for 16, they were expensive as well.
Yeah. So
and my in-laws, basically, they had agreed to say everybody can stay at a certain level, and if people wanted to change the level of type of cabin, then we would pay the additional parts ourselves.
Okay. Anything else you want to talk about the ship itself or differences that you can think of between the two ships that are worth pointing out?
I can't think of anything right now. If we, during our conversation, we come up with anything, I will bring it up then.
Okay, perfect. So let's talk about the cruise itself. So I'm looking at Holland America out of Vancouver. I didn't have Princess up because I was just curious. So the port that most of them go into is actually not Whittier, it's Seward, which is south of Anchorage. Yeah. So leaving out of Seattle, leaving out of Vancouver, you might the first night get a little bit of motion.
Oh, yeah, I know. I was
but
ready.
The majority of this trip, you're not going to have any motion at all because of where the ship stays so close to shore and inside the inside passageway that it really is one of the most mellow cruises you're going to be on. Maybe leaving out of Seattle, you have to go in the open ocean for a little bit before you cut back to Victoria and then up through east side of Vancouver Island. You might get a little bit of motion. But for anybody that's worried about seasickness, I think we felt it rolling just barely once that first sea day after we left Vancouver, but it was pretty mellow the entire time.
Oh, good. Yeah, and we leave on the 30th, which is Saturday. It looks like the 2nd, which is Monday, is our first port. So then we'll just have the same, 1.5 days of moving along.
And being in the inside passage, it is amazing being able to see some of the sights. I remember, just going down these, very narrow channels. I mean, you're looking across, it feels like you can almost reach out and touch some of the trees. It's not that close, but it is pretty amazing how close you are to land. And just seeing people go kayaking by you or just little fishing boats, it's really, these kind of trips are really about the scenery and the destination. It's pretty amazing.
I'm excited.
So let's talk about some of the different ports then. So you guys leave out of Seattle, and where do you guys go to first?
We go to Juneau.
Okay, and Juneau is the capital of Alaska. It's the biggest city that you're going to get to go to in Alaska. And can you talk about what you've got planned, or should we just talk about the ports in general?
We are so people are dividing up. There is the one day that we're all 16 of us are doing the same excursion, but that is in Skagway. So in Juneau, people are dividing up, but my family and then my in-laws, we are doing the Best of Juneau tour through the cruise line, which I'm kind of excited because it's getting us a bunch of different things. We get to do whale watching. I mean, I am just so excited about seeing whales. And I realize we might just see whales, but I want to, from our ship or whatever, but I want to see whales. This is the thing I've been the most excited about since we've talked about booking this cruise. And then we also go to the Mendenhall Glacier. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I think I am. But so that tour stops there. I'm really excited. And then we go, there's a salmon bake, but then they make chicken for people like me that my family that aren't going to eat the salmon. But there's they do other wildlife looking tour. So there will be other things to see. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, that's a perfect overview.
Yeah. So it'll be kind of a long tour, but that is what we have planned for that day.
So all of these ports, just to get back to, none of them are tender ports. They'll pull up right next to pretty much downtown. You'll be able to walk. Juneau, I think, was a little bit of a ways. They offered buses to get you to downtown, but if you want to walk, in all honesty, it's probably about a 15, 20-minute walk to get to downtown as well. So pretty easy to do. So no tendering whatsoever, and just easy access, quick access to whatever you're going to do. So, and we did a couple times. There was, I think, one time there was a pod of orcas that came by the ship, and actually out of the officer of the day or got on the intercom system and let everybody know who was outside that we were passing a pod of orcas, so people wanted to go and see it. But I think that was
so cool.
Yeah, and we saw you see lots of eagles, so you'll definitely see that. But if you want to see whales for sure, that's probably a good idea to actually book a trip like that or book an excursion like that.
Yeah, and there was just so many different options. I mean, that's what some of this problem is. It's what do you do? There's just so many options.
And I'll throw one other thing out there. Disney does a really good job about, if you book Port Adventures with them, they do a really good job of limiting the adventures to people's overall general abilities. But for us, our family kayaks, and my kids have been in kayaks since they were 4. And I think a lot of the adventures that Disney offered, you had to be 10 or even 12 to do some of the things. So my point is you could, if that's something that you want to do and Disney doesn't allow you to do it, there are other avenues like just booking a tour yourself.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was the one thing we didn't end up kayaking, but it was one thing that we wanted to do. And I was like, oh man, he's got to be 10. Well, he's been in a kayak since he was 4 and he was 5. So just throwing that out there for anybody who wants to do something that Disney for some reason isn't allowing the kids to do.
And then general overall, just different things. So for the general listeners that Juneau is sort of known for, they have the dog sleds there, whales, the glaciers like the Mendenhall Glacier. I guess there's not that many sufficient or really good dining choices. So if people want to go on their own, so just, a good thought that maybe your best meal is not going to occur in Juneau.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember where we ate actually someplace there, and it is expensive. Just for it's not going to be super cheap. I think we got some halibut somewhere along the waterfront, which is cool because we had a view of the Wonder and another ship that was in town. So I'm trying to remember what the name of that place is. Anyways, yeah. So Mendenhall Glacier, like Christy said, dog sleds, and you can fly up there. They run the dog sleds up on top of the glacier, so you can fly up, do dog sleds up on top with a helicopter.
Yes, I should have said that. Yes, there's lots of helicopter tours at this port as well. So you could do it with or without. We're not taking a helicopter at all, but that is an option.
Right. Another thing that's kind of cool is the Mount Roberts Tramway, and that's probably about a 5-minute walk to the base of that from where we parked on the Wonder. And what that does, it's just like a cable car that'll take you up to the top of the mountain, Mount Roberts, which is right above Juneau. And from there, you can get an awesome view down into the... you can see the glacier to an extent. You can see downtown Juneau. You can see the whole channel where the ships come in and out of into Juneau as well. You can actually hike up and down. You don't have to take the tram, or you can take the tram up and hike down. There's a place to eat up there if you get hungry, but that's kind of a fun thing to do as well. I
think part of the family is doing that, the tram.
Yeah, it's a super cool view. I've actually never been up there, but a lot of people I work with, that's like what they like to do on their layover is either hike up and take the tram down or vice versa. So kind of a cool thing to do. Something else I read too, I mean, there is shopping throughout Alaska, but one of the comments I saw, if you're a big shopper, it's not the best shopping destination. It's a lot of the same stuff over and over again, I guess, just to throw that out there. If you happen to be a shopper. Okay, so from Juneau, where do you guys head from there?
We go to Skagway.
All right. So what do you guys got planned for Skagway?
Skagway is the White Pass and Yukon Railroad. And then just as a note for the listeners, Disney stops here as well and offers the same excursions. And so that is what we are doing. I'm trying to find my notes on what it includes. But it's like we're doing an all-day tour. So I pulled up the wrong one. I feel like it's like 8 hours. So it involves a bus and then the train. Did you go there?
We went to Skagway. We didn't. So I was going to throw this out for a little bit of advice. This is what our travel agent told us that had been there many times. The train, I think it's an hour and a half train ride. So I think it's like a 3-hour round trip. It might be even a little bit longer than that. Maybe it's 4. But it's the same route up and back. So what her advice was to either take the train up and take the bus back, or take a bus up to the ending point and bring the train back, rather than going both ways.
Yeah, so the thing that we're doing is a bus and then a train.
Yeah, and I think that's the better way to do it. I think the bus is like...
I don't know which order is which, but those things both occur.
Yeah, I think it's like a 30-minute bus ride, and then it's like an hour and a half train ride. So unless you really love trains to sit on them that long, Disney offers... yeah, Disney does... They do offer a kids excursion on it, where what they'll do is like you're with the kids are with you on the way up, and then on the way back, one of the cars becomes a kid's car. I'm not sure exactly how they do it, and then they have...
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah, they have counselors that entertain the kids on the way back, so you can just watch the scenery.
That would be actually very cool. We intend to bring our iPad to entertain my son for some of that. Like, he will look out the window for a bit. He really will. He's into that with us. But I don't think, this is an 8-hour tour. So eventually he's going to need his headphones and his iPad. But it's a whole thing. Like, it's, takes you up the Klondike Highway, and it will talk about the gold rush. And then they stop in this Caribou Crossing trading post, and there's a museum, I guess, and it's just a whole day thing. And this is the thing all 16 of us are doing.
Okay. In Skagway, it was actually the largest Alaskan town at one point. It was the center of gold exploration when the whole gold rush hit up there in the late 1800s. Mm-hmm. And the actual town wasn't exactly where you dock. It was at a different spot. But they actually had a symphony up there. They had all kinds of stuff. It was a bustling little town. And it all dried up within about 15 years, I think. After the gold rush. And now it's just a small little, I'll just call it, it's kind of a tourist town is really what it is. And once the tourist season ends, there's not too many people that stick around. It's pretty small, but it's beautiful for the White Pass Railroad. It's also, they have gold. It's the place to kind of go do the gold panning, and they have the sled dogs, the puppy dogs. That's where my youngest did that. So that's kind of the sense of Skagway: gold, sled dogs, and the train.
I guess there's some big suspension bridge there too.
Oh yeah, I remember that. So, and some really cool hikes as well, actually, that you can do that leave right outside of town if you just want to do something on your own that day. So it's a beautiful little port. All right, so from Skagway, where are we off to?
We are cruising Glacier Bay. It's a day on the ship where you go into and get real close to the glacier. I'm really excited. Yeah,
Glacier Bay is huge. It's a great big, huge inlet, and I have never been there. I've flown over it. And
That's awesome.
They limit how many ships can go in there on every day, which is why, or one of the reasons why, and I'm not sure why Disney has picked Tracy Arm, to be completely honest. I keep meaning to try and figure that out but I do know they limit how many ships can go into Glacier Bay each day. So not everybody can just go in there and look at the glaciers.
I actually feel like I heard that it's possible, and I don't know this for sure. No, because I think Royal does. No, I don't know. But that there's only like 2 or 3 companies that even have access, and that they weren't letting new companies have the access. And so maybe it's just that the opportunity for Disney to go hasn't, maybe it hasn't been opened for them to be able to even book it. I don't know.
That's probably, I would, without knowing it for sure, I'm guessing that would probably that makes sense to me.
I also think that Disney likes to be the boss and doesn't like other people to be the boss. And again, this is totally speculative, but that they don't want to be told that on such and such day they can't go to Glacier Bay because so then they're just like, forget it. I will go somewhere else.
Yeah. So
I can make my own schedule.
Have you looked into what happens in Glacier Bay that day for your guys' cruise?
Is there something I'm missing? Like if they take it in, it's like an all-day thing. They talk about it. They move the ship in circles so that every angle can see every angle. What else am I missing? They'll have the naturalist on. No,
that's about it. I was just curious if there was anything in particular that maybe they did or whatnot, if they had anything in the literature that you looked at.
Yeah, I think just basically what everybody does in those types of days.
So I could talk about what Disney does. They come up the Tracy Arm. The naturalist talks most of the way up the arm towards. There's 2 glaciers at the end of Tracy Arm, and I totally drawn a blank on their names. But depending upon what we heard was depending on how warm the day is, depends upon how close they can get to the glaciers. So if it's a warm day, they have to stay further away because there's more chance for the glaciers to be calving, which means those big chunks of ice coming off. So they have to stay away for that.
And I understand one of the reasons we picked Glacier Bay was because I understand the ships can get closer.
That probably makes sense. Yeah.
To the actual ice.
Yeah, it was a warm day for us. That was actually the one day it was sunny, was when we went up through Tracy Arm, and you get pretty close. You really get a good idea of how big those glaciers are, and it was amazing to see at the end. And I'll try and put a couple of our pictures on in the show notes here if anybody wants to see just kind of what we saw. But those are amazing days. And the ship went up, and like you said, it did a 180-degree turn up at the end so that everybody got a really good view of it. And we probably sat there even before the ship turned for probably a good hour, so people could just kind of take in the whole scenery and get pictures and everything else. So that'll be an amazing day for you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. I feel it'll be a very picturesque.
So from Glacier Bay, then you guys start heading south again. Where do you guys go from there?
Ketchikan is our next, I guess, stop.
Okay, and what do you guys got planned for Ketchikan?
This is a really short day. We were there from 7 to 1. And so actually, I will say on this cruise, there is a lot of time on the ship. So not necessarily a lot of quote-unquote sea days, but days that either start later. So I feel like there'll be a lot of ship time. So I will really get to explore what is available on the ship. But we're in Ketchikan from 7 until 1. And there was a wildlife tour. I don't have anything really planned yet. There was a wildlife tour that we were thinking of doing. So we might do that. Yeah, I didn't book anything yet for this day. But I haven't determined for sure that I'm not going to. Oh, this is the port with like the lumberjacks too.
Yes.
So, and I think you can tell me. I feel like we can kind of get off and go to a lumberjack show. Can you?
Yeah. So Ketchikan, little overview. It sits in the maritime rainforest and it rains there most of the year. This is the one port where if you get a sunny day, you're lucky. But not to say that there's not sunny days or not rainy days during the summer, but it does rain there quite a bit. This is a great port for fishing, whale watching, and flight seeing, so taking flights in small planes out over the Tongass National Forest, and it's just some beautiful sights there. And there is the Lumberjack Show, which is right near downtown. I think they run buses even, like you could get off and book the tour there. So the Lumberjack Show is kind of a, I hate to say touristy, but it's kind of a touristy, kid-friendly show where...
Right.
But it gives you a good overview of, I think they have like a race. Like they'll put up 2 logs and they'll have 2 lumberjacks that have to race up to the top and then cut the top of the log off. So it kind of gives you kind of a good flavor of what it was like to be a logger up there back in the day.
So I thought, like, for Blake, that might be a good idea, but it's just a thought. I don't know. And I like the idea where we could just go and buy a ticket if we decide we wanted to.
Yeah, it might be a good day to just kind of, play it by ear and see what you guys are up for.
Yeah.
But once again, you park this one, you literally are downtown. I think it was like less than a 5-minute walk, and you're right in the heart of Ketchikan, kind of the area where a lot of the boats, the fishing boats, leave from, and a lot of shopping and whatnot from there. So it's a really pretty town.
My notes indicated that they have really cute, unique shopping here.
Yeah, they have this... I'm trying to remember what it's called now. It's like a walkway where it was like the red light district in Bar District back in the day, and it's not anymore. But they've kept it all up. They fixed it up so it looks like that. But it's all filled with cool, quaint little shops and stuff like that. But it's like right along this kind of old rickety wooden sort of pier system, and it's kind of cool. So you can kind of wander through that and explore for if you're looking for doing a little shopping downtown.
Nice. And then there's a website, visit-ketchikan.com, which has an easy walking tour that you could go to at your own pace. So somebody could go and do that as well.
Yeah. Well, cool. So from Ketchikan, I think you're headed for a sea day maybe, huh?
I think it's like you're a day and a half at sea. Let me pull it up. And then we end up so it's the next day we get to Victoria because our cruise is almost over at this point. But we leave Ketchikan at 1, and we arrive in Victoria at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. the next day.
Oh, okay. So then you have...
So it's an entire day, but it's not a sea day. But it is. But it isn't.
Okay. So you get to Victoria at 7 p.m. at night, and then do you get to hang out there the next day too for a little bit?
No, because the next day we get off.
Okay.
So we are there until 11 p.m. This is clearly a port that is required by law to be in attendance. And it's also like the last day before you leave. So what do? Pack before, like at 6 o'clock before you get off to... I don't know how that works, but we won't likely get off the ship. So if my husband wants to, he can with his family. I will stay with my son, put him to bed But regardless, one of us have to put him to bed. We're not keeping him up till 11. For sure, one of us is not leaving the ship.
I'm kind of totally at a loss. That's kind of goofy. So yeah, the ship has to stop there because it's not, as we've talked about before, because none of the ships are flagged in the U.S. Part of what they need to do is they have to stop at a foreign port before they come back to the U.S., and which is why you stop in Victoria, which is part of Canada.
Right.
And the Wonder doesn't have to do that. It does not stop in Victoria because it leaves and comes back to Canada after.
It starts in Canada.
Yeah, it starts and ends in Canada, so it doesn't need to do that. But 7 o'clock. So Victoria is a beautiful little town. They call it the land of the newly wed and nearly dead. So lots of young people up there and lots of older, retired people, and not a lot in between. But
and then how do you say those gardens? Those
Butchart Gardens.
Yeah.
And that's an amazing place to go to, but boy, if you're getting there at 7, It's at least a 45-minute to hour drive to get to it. By 8 o'clock at night, even if it was light out, I don't even know if it'd be open then. So unfortunately,
I think it is a tour offered, so people can, or they can go on their own. So it is open, it is offered, it is a thing we can do.
Okay, well,
that is the place.
It is. I mean, it's going to be light until 10 o'clock at night. Then, in all honesty, so
at least, right?
Yeah. So you could do that and see the gardens. So. Yeah, that's one thing.
At that time, Michigan's light till 10 o'clock, so I would think it's going to be light even darker.
Yeah. But the downtown area is really, really cool. They've got this old hotel called the Empress, and it's real famous for going there if you like to have high tea. They have high tea there. And Victoria's got a real British feel to it. They really play up that feel of England and kind of acknowledging that. Whereas the rest of Canada doesn't quite have that feel. When you get further east, it's more French Canadian.
Right.
So, yeah, what a great little town. But, yeah, I don't know. Getting there at 7, that'd be tough especially with Blake being as young as he is. I'm not sure there's much you could do.
So for us, it's not going to happen. But we have the youngest. I mean, everybody else all the other kids are older. And then there's the young adult kids. So those kids can stay up all night. So, yeah. They'll all go off and do some.
Well, from there, you guys are back to Seattle, and then do you leave that day, or what do you guys do?
We do.
Okay. And did you schedule a car or something to take you back to the airport, or how are you guys getting back?
Uber,
perfect.
Lyft, taxi, something along those lines.
You could take the train, but it would be really hard. They have a
yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah, I know.
That's just not happening.
Yeah, especially with all your bags and stuff like that. But there is a possibility for somebody, if they wanted to adventure, there is a train that runs from downtown Seattle to the airport now, or light rail, I guess is what it's called.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are doing that.
No, I wouldn't do it either, not with all your bags and stuff, but that is an option. Okay, well, cool. Anything else you can think of as far as talking about Alaska? I think we covered a lot of different things.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm excited. Oh, we do have a pair of pants that cut off. Dave and I each have them. Then we can bring Blake shorts. They're so small, but that have the zip off bottoms. And so for a day that might warm up, we can have shorts.
Oh yeah, those are kind of cool. Those pants that you can buy that zip off the legs. So they can either be pants or shorts. That's kind of cool. That's a great idea as far as a packing tip, so that you don't have to bring as many things with you.
Costco has them for very cheap. So if people have Costco memberships, they should look into that.
Run out there and get them now before they start putting the fall stuff out there already.
Right. I know. Isn't that ridiculous?
I know. I feel like whenever I get a Costco, if I don't buy it right away, by the next time I come back there, they don't have it anymore.
Yeah. But they have it online, too. So if you have a membership, just go online and order it. Who knows when the show's going up. But
well, there you go. Another great tip. I didn't even think about that.
I'm the queen of online shopping. I don't know how people did it. How did they work and parent prior to the online shopping world? I don't go to the store.
I'm not sure either. So, well, cool. That's a great overview of Alaska. And for those listeners out there who are going to Alaska this year or contemplating it for 2019, the 2019 dates are out, so you can book those as well. So, I want to wish you the best of luck if you're heading up that way. It's definitely a bucket list cruise, I think, and probably a once-in-a-lifetime cruise, but one that I think is well worth it if it interests you.
For sure. And for us, for my family of 3, I don't think this will be our only time. I want to do a cruise tour. So, and I want to do the landing in a little plane on a glacier. Mm-hmm. But I don't necessarily want to do it with a 5-year-old. So, and this is the year we're going. So I think, we'll go back in 10 years or something like that.
And for anybody on the West Coast, in all honesty, these cruises, believe it or not, do open up. They do have openings, not necessarily on Disney, but last minute openings. Like there's a guy that I flew with, and him and his wife went every year up to Alaska, and he'd wait to literally 2 days before and book a cruise because they really drop the prices on some of the Holland or Norwegian or whatnot. So if you can get it, and I know that's a hard part for a lot of people if you don't live out here on the West Coast to get here, because that's an added expense, but it's almost like the people that live in Florida where they can jump on those last minute Disney cruises for a cheaper price.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a great tip.
Yeah.
It's a great reminder and a great tip.
Yeah, but they do, in all honesty, watch those things last minute if you're available to do it, because there's just so many cruises now leaving out of Seattle, and with the Bliss coming up here now with Norwegian, that ship is huge. So they're going to have to fill it up each time. So there might be some opportunities to save and do this again if you're out here on the West Coast last minute.
Yeah, so the Bliss just went through the Panama Canal recently. I mean, I guess it's in Seattle now, so it's been however many days it takes to get from that place to that. But they went through the Panama Canal, and it was the largest ship to go through the new locks.
That's pretty cool. I wonder, it's as close as you were talking about the Disney ship, the Wonder being to it. Man, that must have really looked like it was going to fit.
Well, right. It was the front and the back that seemed close to me versus the sides.
Okay.
Now, back when I went on it 20 years ago, I felt like the sides were much closer to, like, that there was just inches almost, on each side of the ship. So I don't know for sure if that was true, though. Like, I don't know if it was because it's been so long. But yeah, it is a bigger ship. And the Bliss it is bigger, but it is not necessarily, they didn't pack it as much full of people, I think, right? Like, I think that sentence had grammatical problems, but they didn't make it they made more open deck space, is my understanding, than just doing cabins for that size ship. There's less people than would maybe be on other ships of the same size.
That's true. You know what? I'm not. In my mind, I'm thinking that there's like about 4,000 people on it, which is because it's the same. It's the plus version of the Breakaway class, which is like the Getaway and the Breakaway that we were on. So it's just a little bit bigger. And comparing that to, I think it's Oasis of the Sea for Royal. That's like 6,000 people. So
can you ever even? I can't even imagine.
Yeah,
that is insane.
Yeah, so
I will do that at some point. But.
You're right. It's not as big as Royal ships that they have going around the Caribbean right now. So
right.
Well, there you go. There's Alaska. I'm looking forward to when you get back this summer, hearing how everything went and what you thought of it.
Thank you. Oh, and so before we hang up, the ship tonnage, I looked it up. The Ruby Princess, which is the ship I'll be on, is 113,000 gross tons. That's pretty big. The Disney Wonder is 83,000.
Okay.
So it's basically, well, it's 30,000 difference, right? And it would be like half. So it would be the halfway point, I believe, between the Disney Fantasy and the Disney Wonder, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so it kind of gives you enough, maybe about 3,000 people on board, just roughing it without actually looking at it.
Yeah, 130 is the Disney Fantasy and Dreams. So, yeah, it's almost a halfway point between the two. Okay. So it gives you an idea of the size.
There you go. Well, have a wonderful trip. I can't wait to hear about it.
Thank you. Can't believe it's in a month at this point. And then you go to Europe in 2 weeks.
I know, it's crazy. Still, I think we got most of the stuff set, but still kind of working on settling that out, so... Well, let's close out the show between now and our next show. If you want to get a hold of us, you can reach me at the DCL Podcast on Facebook or also on Twitter at the DCL Podcast. And where can everybody find you, Christy?
I am at Pack Your Pixie Dust on all of the social media. On Twitter, it's PackYR Pixie Dust. And then we have an Instagram page that I manage, but it is for the DCL Podcast, and it's called DCL Podcast. I think it's DCL_podcast. If you would like your picture displayed, then send it to me. Reach out and contact me on one of the social media channels, and I will give you my email address. You can send it, and we will feature it on our little Instagram page. And on Facebook, so we'll just share it on there too.
Pretty cool. So, and I want to thank all the listeners who we've been interacting with lately. It's been a lot of fun getting you on the shows and also kind of hearing all about your love with DCL or Disney Cruise Line and what you've got planned and what you've done. So thanks to everybody out there who's kind of joined in the conversation. Let's keep it going.
Absolutely.
So between now and our next show, if you're heading out on your next adventure or your next trip, all of us here would like to wish you fair winds and safe journeys. And we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast. Have a great day, Christy. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, you too. Bye.